I should have known the night would change everything the moment Mario's hands brushed against mine. I froze for a heartbeat, pretending not to notice, but the truth was, every nerve in my body had already betrayed me. My pulse spiked, my skin tingled, and the air itself seemed to crackle between us, alive with a tension that refused to be ignored. The living room had always been ordinary, just a sofa, a rug, a dim lamp. But when his hand slid around me, it became a place I could never forget. I could smell him first, clean soap mixed with something deeper, something uniquely Mario, and then hear his voice, low and teasing, whispering, "You look tense." I should have laughed it off, should have moved, should have done anything to hide how my body reacted to him. But I didn't. I leaned slightly into him, my back brushing his chest, feeling the weight of him, the warmth, the subtle strength that somehow made my knees weak. "You've been thinking about this all week, haven't you?" he murmured, and his beard scratched lightly against my jaw, sending shivers down my spine. I couldn't answer. Words would ruin the moment, would betray how desperately I wanted him. And he knew it. Mario always knew. His hand slid lower, firm against my waist, and my breath hitched. The couch groaned softly beneath us, the lamp casting golden shadows across his strong features. I turned slightly to look at him, and his eyes locked onto mine with a dark intensity that made my chest pound. "Say stop if you want me to," he said, his voice roughened with restraint. But I shook my head, unable to speak, unable to stop. I had wanted this for weeks, months maybe, and now that it was happening, I couldn't even form coherent thoughts. I just let him pull me closer, let his hands claim me, let the living room walls bear witness to the fire between us. His lips brushed my jaw, slow and deliberate, and I shivered, tipping my head back against him. Let his presence envelop me completely. "You're mine tonight," he whispered, and I knew he meant in a way that left no room for denial. We fell onto the couch together, his hand sliding along my back as he leaned over me, his black t-shirt soft against my maroon one. Every inch of him pressed warmth into me, and every touch ignited sparks that ran along my nerves like lightning. I reached up to clutch his arms, tangling the sleeves, gripping him as if holding him close could somehow make him mine forever. And maybe it could, maybe it already had. His lips moved down my neck, teasing, brushing, igniting a fire I couldn't quench. I gasped and leaned into him, into the sensation, into the reality of being claimed by Mario. He chuckled softly, the sound rumbling against my chest, and whispered, "You're finally letting me in." Time slowed in the living room. The TV's flicker was meaningless, the rug beneath us rough under my fingers, the shadows dancing along the walls nothing but decoration to our heat. Every brush of his hands, every whispered word, every tilt of his head against mine carried the weight of months of longing. I realized then that I had wanted him in ways I couldn't even admit to myself. And now that it was happening, the world outside didn't matter. It was just us, just Mario, just me, and the living room, transformed into a private sanctuary where my body, my mind, my heart were his entirely. He paused, forehead resting against mine, breath warm and uneven. "I've wanted this for so long," he murmured. I could feel the truth in it, the honesty, the rawness, and it broke something open inside me. "Me too," I whispered, my voice shaky but certain. His lips met mine again, this time more insistent, more claiming, and I melted against him, letting every last piece of myself succumb to the moment. I could feel him everywhere, and I wanted him everywhere, and I finally let go. The night stretched on in a haze of whispered confessions, shared warmth, touches that were equal parts fire and comfort. His hands traced the lines of my shoulders, my sides, mapping me as if committing me to memory, while my fingers explored his arms, his chest, holding on to him as if I would vanish if I didn't. I didn't want to stop. I couldn't imagine stopping. His presence alone filled the space with something electric, something permanent. The ordinary living room became sacred, a witness to a night I would never forget, a night that would haunt me for years to come. Hours passed. I lost track of time, lost track of everything but the feel of his hands, the brush of his lips, the steady heat of him pressed against me. And in that moment, I understood. The living room was no longer just a room, the couch no longer just furniture. It was a place where I was claimed, where I surrendered, where I was finally mine, but also completely his. When his hands slid around me that night, they didn't just own my body, they owned my heart, my mind, my every thought. And even now, thinking back, the memory of Mario's hands in that living room still burns inside me. Even as the night deepened, the living room refused to let go of us. I could feel Mario's warmth against my body, his black t-shirt brushing mine, his beard scratching lightly as he leaned close. Every time I tried to shift or move, he adjusted with effortless precision, keeping me pressed into him, grounding me, claiming me. I could feel the strength in his hands, the tenderness in the way he held me, and it made me shiver all over again. It was intoxicating, this perfect mix of fire and comfort, the way he could dominate without ever being harsh, the way he could be demanding without ever crossing a line I wasn't willing to cross. I found myself leaning into him instinctively, letting him set the pace, letting him decide how far we went, and the thrill of it made my heart race. His lips traced my jaw again, teasing, brushing, and I felt my knees go weak. "You're shaking," he whispered, one hand gliding down my side, fingertips warm against my skin through my maroon t-shirt. I could barely form words, barely breathe, barely think. I only knew that I wanted him, needed him, and that I couldn't pull away even if I tried. His eyes, dark and intense, held mine as he pressed a little closer, his chest against mine, the couch sagging beneath us. Every small motion, every brush of fingers sent electricity through me. I realized, with a dizzying sense of clarity, that I was entirely his, not just tonight, not just in this moment, but in ways that would haunt me forever. We paused for just a heartbeat, our foreheads pressed together, breaths mingling, and I could feel the unspoken connection building between us. His hands didn't stop. They explored, memorized, held. But they weren't rough. They were deliberate, commanding, and somehow comforting all at once. "I've never wanted anyone like this," he said softly, his voice rough, almost vulnerable. "Me neither," I admitted, trembling slightly as I leaned further into him. The honesty hung in the room like a tangible thing, making the air thick and electric. The living room was no longer just furniture and walls. It was a witness, a vault for our secret, a sacred space for our fire. Time lost all meaning as Mario guided me with quiet authority, his hands roaming with purpose, claiming every inch of me. The couch beneath us was soft, the rug rough under my fingers as I braced myself, leaning into him completely. I had imagined this moment countless times in my head, the way he would touch me, the way his lips would trail across my skin, but nothing had prepared me for the reality of it, the way it sent shockwaves through every nerve ending. I could feel my body responding in ways I had never let it before, and every sigh, every breathless sound, every shiver only encouraged him, made him lean closer, made his hand slide more deliberately over me. At one point, I tilted my head back, letting him see the vulnerability in my eyes, letting him see how completely I was his. He smiled a crooked, teasing smile and pressed a gentle kiss to my temple. "Mine," he whispered, and the single word felt heavier than anything I had ever heard. It wasn't possessive in a cruel sense. It was a claim, a promise, a binding of hearts and minds as much as bodies. I leaned into him instinctively, letting my cheek rest against his chest, my arms winding around him, and the world outside the living room ceased to exist. Hours passed in that delicate tension between fire and comfort. Every brush of his fingers across my shoulders, my sides, my arms made me tremble, made me ache for more, and I found myself leaning into him without even realizing it. His lips traced slow patterns along my neck, teasing, tasting, memorizing, and I couldn't help but moan softly, letting the sound escape without shame. His hands followed every movement of my body, adjusting, guiding, claiming, and I realized that I was completely, utterly, and deliciously lost to him. The living room, the couch, even a faint flicker of the lamplight all became part of the moment, framing it, highlighting it, preserving it in memory as if the walls themselves would remember what had happened. Finally, we collapsed together, breathless, tangled in each other, the tension slowly giving way to a quiet warmth. Mario's arm wrapped around me, holding me close, steady, protective, and I felt safe in a way I had never known before. We didn't need words. Our bodies had spoken everything. Our hearts had bared everything, and our breaths had whispered everything we were too afraid to say. I rested my head against his chest, listening to the steady rise and fall of his breathing, feeling the gentle beat of his heart under my ear, and realized that the living room had transformed from a simple space into a sanctuary, a place where passion met tenderness, where desire met comfort, where two men had claimed and been claimed, where I had surrendered entirely to Mario. As the night drew to a close, I let my thoughts drift, still tangled in him, still burned with the memory of his hands, his lips, his eyes. I knew this night would stay with me forever, that the living room would never be the same, that my heart would always remember the way it felt to be entirely his. I could still feel the lingering heat of his touch, the imprint of his hands on my skin, the pull of his presence that made me ache even now. Mario had owned me in the living room that night. Not in a fleeting way, not in a simple, momentary passion, but in a way that reached deep into my soul, leaving marks that would never fade. And as I lay there, his arm across me, the lamp casting gentle shadows, I realized I didn't want to forget a single second. I wanted to remember the ache, the longing, the fire, the tenderness, the certainty, the passion, the surrender. I wanted to remember Mario, his hands, his lips, his heart intertwined with mine, and I knew I would carry it all with me forever, haunted and exhilarated in equal measure, always longing for the moment when his hands would once again find me in the living room, claiming me, grounding me, loving me in ways that words could never capture.